Well, let me welcome you to the conversation segment of the Signature Show this Sunday. Campaigns have not started for the 2023 elections, but you can bear me witness that politics has already saturated the air. This Sunday, we'll be interrogating two dimensions to Nigeria's politics today. First, the internal wranglings in the political parties. And secondly, the challenges facing the Independent National Electoral Commission. Both issues seem to work together to either elevate or undermine the 2023 election. And I have as my guest somebody I will introduce as the boss of politics in Nigeria. And you should know why. He is the chairperson of the Inter-Party Advisory Council. In other words, the umbrella organization that makes sure that things are going on well within Nigeria political space. So my guest this afternoon, Yusuf Sani Yabagi. Yusuf, you are welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Chief Mwazbe.
I'm not a politician, but I'm worried that within our political parties in the lead up to the next year's election, there is so much of disagreements, wranglings, tearing down the parties. What do you think is the challenge?
Well, thank you very much. I believe that it's an indication that the democracy project in Nigeria has reached a very a stage whereby we can be compared to the most advanced democracies in the world. Because what is politics? Politics is actually management of crisis. And that is why what is happening in the parties is not anything that makes us, feel hopeless. If at all there's anything we take from it, like I said, is to confirm the fact that we have come of age, as building democracy is concerned, as far as democracy is concerned in Nigeria. Like they say, it's good to Jojo, than to war. So what we are hearing is what characterizes, the political activities all over the world. And that is why I believe, and we are lucky to have the umpire, that is the electoral, INEC,
yes,
Independent National Electoral Commission, to be headed by a cool-headed gentleman, in the person of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who are so passionate, committed, and they are ready to give their all to ensuring that this project succeeds and is advanced, beyond our time.
Let me interject here a little bit. I'm excited by your positive outlook. We are moving towards, if not arrived at, a stable and advanced democracy. So these are just contentions, natural contentions within political parties. But it doesn't appear to me it is natural that political parties don't seem to be following or respecting their own rules, regulations, and processes. And I'll give you an example. Go to the court today. INEC monitors a primary election. Candidates emerge from those processes. And the party leadership submits the names of candidates who did not emerge from the due process. Are the parties not disrespecting their own rules and regulations?
No, not at all. Even if you go to court, the court will listen to the parties. And whatever interpretation the party gives to what they have done, That's what the court takes, because the parties have rules, like you said, and regulations, and the parties also have the residual, powers, because politics is not totally predictable. Political happenings in political parties and even in the land, they are not totally predictable. Things happen that will task your ingenuity, your ability to think out of the box in order to solve the situation, because this is a social process we are in. It's something that depends on human beings. Human beings are not totally predictable. You would never know what somebody will do the next minute. That is politics for you, and that's why it's called democracy. Which is government of the people, by the people, for the people. So people matter, and people are not predictable. In the manner, especially when the stakes are high. So that's why some people who are not part of the process, or not in the political parties themselves, or do not understand, or may not have the experience, or have to run political parties, may think that you are violating the rules and the laws of the parties. No, but courts understand it better. That's why at all point they will ask NWC or the party to explain, what do you mean by this? Why did you do this? And by the time they explain to you why they do what they did, and why, and they tell you reasons, give you, even in their rules and regulations, the courts mostly, in most cases, accept what the operators of the operators of the political party, because it's not like any other thing, and that is why it's the most important thing, really, on the land, how to ensure that you have credible, reliable, free, all-inclusive elections that will produce people that will produce or deliver that which we always call...
You promise us the electorate.
Yes, the dividends of democracy. And especially when you look at it against the underlying conditions in Nigeria, there are some sentiments, that have come to personify who we are. Like some people tend to look at their own ethnic group as their world. Not Nigeria as their world. They don't believe in some of their actions.
They don't even see it.
Exactly. That they see themselves as that member of that ethnic group before
thinking about the larger Nigerian
space. So now when you bring that into the context and the content of what we're talking about, and then again you bring the issue of religion also. You now bring in, that's why you mentioned Ali Mazrui, when we were chatting.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember what Ali Mazrui says. He said African countries are battling with what he calls triple heritage. The triple heritage is your own traditional culture, the way you do things, the Western civilization, the Islamic civilization, all at play. And this one individual is supposed to now behave in the manner,
all the expectations of these three pressures,
and conform with the building of democracy or running a country. So all these contending forces is what we are battling with, especially in Nigeria. So that's why when you see an average politician in Nigeria, believe me, you have to respect.
He's considering so many
so many things. He doesn't know how do I behave, so I don't offend my traditional, my ethnic group, or my religion, or the so-called modern way of doing things, which was brought by the Western civilization and things like that. So all these things are at play, and each one of them is very important. That's why even when we run primaries, like you can see from the outcome of the last primaries we had, you had to contend with how do I balance the balancing of the ethnic,
considerations.
Yes, considerations, the reasons, religious considerations, and then you now, have to now come up with somebody that agrees with the modern way of doing things, which is democracy itself, as is designed by the Constitution. So how do I fit into that? So you have three contending forces: your modern Constitution, your traditional way of doing things, some other influences, out of your country, like Islamic influence, Western influence, Christianity, and things like that. So this is why when people say Nigerian politicians are noisy, they are behaving one guy, I just laugh, because you have to understand where the person is coming from.
Let me give you a little example. Is it these forces that do for it? I'm going to give you what we've experienced. Governor Umahi of Ebonyi State, Godswill Akpabio of Akwa Ibom State, Ahmed Lawan, Yobe State. These three gentlemen contested for the presidential ticket of their party. Before they contested, their party had concluded the senatorial primaries. That is the process. That is the rule of the party. They lost out. They are eating their cake. Then they stretch their hands to want to have their eating cake back. The party threw them up by whatever mechanism as senatorial candidates of the party. Is it as a result of contending pressure, contending forces? Or is it simple and straightforward, not respecting rules and regulations?
Not at all. They are respecting the rules and regulations of their party. Because even the electoral law, which is the ground norm as far as conducting election is concerned, says that as a party, not later than 90 days, you have the right to change your candidate. If, for any reason, the person who we have put forward as your candidate withdraws or death occurs, any of these two allows you to, within 14 days or so, conduct another primary and change the name of the person that you have fielded before. So what you may not know, is what transpired
behind the closed doors
in those parties. And because INEC does not deal with individual candidates, INEC deals only with parties. So whoever party puts forward as their candidate, that's the person that INEC knows. That's the person that INEC would field. Unless you go to court and there's an order by the court that no, it's not this person, it is this person, INEC will now obey the court order, and then replace the person. But the parties have the flexibility, to really present who they believe, will represent them well, in an election.
They are looking for victory.
Exactly, for victory.
Power.
Yeah. So that's why it may not be eating your cake and having it again. No, it's just that the party, being a democratic
decide to bake another cake for you.
Well, yes, exactly. And they bake a big one so that well, you take it.
Okay, let us look at the challenges that INEC itself is confronting. Honestly, I agree with you that Professor Mahmood Yakub is a level-headed, thinking, not emotional gentleman handling INEC's affairs, and one of those who will quickly tell you that he's brought changes, commendable changes that increase the credibility of our elections. However, two things. INEC itself admitted about 3 weeks ago that in the course of the Osun Ekiti elections, its website was hacked, though unsuccessfully, and went ahead to say the attempted hack came from Asia. Thank God they did not succeed. But who will be interested in undermining the outcome of election in Nigeria? And of what use will will it be to such characters to undermine the outcome of election in Nigeria?
Well, I don't know why we'll be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised now, because when you look at Nigeria, like you have said yourself, it's about the biggest economy on the continent of Africa. And we play big in the global economic setting. The next frontier for economic development, if you like, advancement, is Africa. We are talking about Africa, you are talking about Nigeria. You know, by population, by economy, by size, by everything you want to look at, by resources and all the things you want to look at. So, for other interests, stakeholders in the world, the global economic setting, to be interested, to me, it's not anything strange. I don't know whether you still remember what happened in America, the election that produced Trump.
Yeah.
And the
allegations
that China was behind it,
and Russia,
they were behind it. They tinker with the elections, the outcome of the elections. So, if that happened to America, of course, why should we be surprised that an attempt will not be made, and will still be made? Because don't think that last one is where they're going to stop. They're going to stop there, because it's about their interest. They're trying to see how they can advance, protect and advance their own interest. And so that tells you that Nigeria, we have not been asserting our influence, even on the continent of Africa, as we should, because we have the position, we have what it takes to assert our position in order to play bigger roles, in the contemporary global setting. So I'm not surprised that they claim the Asian country, tried to hack the elections. Maybe they were just doing a test run, and see what they
waiting for the big one.
For the big one. So we must be at alert. I'm saying that INEC should not take things for granted, because this is technology we're talking about, and it's nothing strange. It's not new. It's not the first time it's happening, like you know. And even when technology was not there as it is, when elections are taking place, you think these people just fold their arms and watch? No. They go underground.
They have interests to advance.
Exactly. They try to see, in fact, they see how things, can
shape up in their own interest.
Look at even the election that produced Buhari, the 2015 elections. They came out openly, not even through some
underhand method.
Yeah. America was here. They brought their ships, their warships around, that if it didn't go the way they want, they are ready to attack Nigeria, and then put what they want there. So that's to tell you that the world is not just,
they're taking Nigeria seriously. They're taking the Nigerian situation seriously.
Yes. It's us now, Nigerians, to take ourselves
also seriously. Chairman, INEC again. Penultimate Friday, CUPP. It's an acronym. I can't remember the full name.
Conference of United Political Parties.
Conference of United Nigerian Political Parties. Thank you very much. Their spokesperson, Ikenga Ugochinyere, called what he termed a world press conference. He traced his challenge, or what he was making Nigerians aware, to the creation of wards, more wards and voting booths by INEC. And those creations were done because we Nigerians, civil society groups, we insisted that the electorate was too far from many polling booths. I was part of it. I insisted that this thing should be brought closer to the people because it was disenfranchising people from casting their ballot. But he raised the alarm that politicians have manipulated that process and turning their kitchens, their bedrooms, their parlors and their mothers' graves into voting booths where numbers have been allocated. And that to meet those numbers, the current voter registration has been infiltrated. Names from Bangladesh, names from Philippines, faces from Estonia, some from Siberia in Russia, are all appearing now, claiming to either be from Olo in Imo State, which is his area of interest. I'm not so much interested in his pointing fingers about whether it's in Olo or Oshu or whatever. I'm interested in if that INEC process has really been infiltrated and names uploaded. Can INEC officials be innocent in this manipulation?
Well, you know, like I said, it's a very challenging situation we're in, you know, build up to 2023 elections because of what that election represents, you know, to the fate of this country as far as the biggest country on the continent of Africa and the country that is looked up to for leadership, not only on the African continent, but the whole world. So you will see some of these things, you know, coming up. But what is important is, do we have the way by which we can
sieve out these things?
Exactly. And then remove them from interfering with the system, because they will never stop. That's for sure. You should know. The hackers never stop anywhere in the world. You know, they are always. But the only thing is that you should be ahead of them by being on your toes at all times, so that you keep improving, keep subjecting your own systems to some tests. You know, to see whether it can withstand some of these attacks, because the attacks will keep coming. You know, as we speak here now, you never know. Some people are thinking about some other things, you know, some weird, you know, so they have some weird ideas of how to ensure that the system either does not work at all, or it works in their favor. You know, so that cannot stop. What can only do is what INEC is doing, and plus, you know, they are as we speak now, they are in the process of cleaning the register. Yes, the register. And that will mean that some of these things will be thrown up. They will see them, and they will now, you know, take them out. But what it tells you, like you said, it's for like I said also, is for INEC to be on guard and be alert to what can happen, because there's anything that can go wrong will go wrong if you don't really take precautions and measures to ensure that it doesn't go wrong. Because so this is why I believe that I salute the courage and the dexterity and the kind of commitment that INEC has shown, you know, so far in this process. So and we as IPAC, we're always on the same page with them. We're always, you know, commending them. We're always encouraging them. We're always you know,
also looking at their processes, and if there are any weaknesses.
We also criticize them. We criticize them when the need arises. You know, for instance, we have a case in point now. The electoral law says that you can change your candidate 90 days to the time, and INEC is saying no. So we are not happy about that. We have written to them an appeal. We are going to meet with them. We will ask them to look at reasons why they need to
respect that law.
Exactly, because it will amount to defranchising Nigerians unnecessarily for your own comfort. That is not what the law anticipates. You know, when they give the administration of the electoral law to an umpire, a regulator, it is not for the regulator to
undermine the law.
Exactly. Or should change, you know, the individuals. Because if the individual who has spent his name, his time, and energy, everything, you know, and then for one reason or the other, you know, you say no, the portal was closed, you know, and then he said, but the law says I can do this until this time. You say no, my arrangement is that you can't. So who comes first? You know, is it the
law or your own regulations or your own whim? In fact,
yeah, exactly. So we are not happy that is happening, and we are not hiding it, you know, from INEC at all. That because it amounts to defranchising an innocent Nigerian who does not know anything about this, you know. And this system is supposed to help him. It's supposed to advance the cause of democracy, deepening democracy. It's not to stifle it. So we are not going to accept anything that will stifle the process. We are not going to support anything that is against the law at all, you know. We will not, because if we do, that's at our own peril, you know, and because we want to succeed. We are the biggest loser if anything goes wrong in this democracy. You know, of all the stakeholders, we are the biggest losers. So we are the ones that are so passionate, we are so committed, we are so interested in knowing that
the law has been respected,
because that's the only thing that can guarantee success, end of the day. But it's not the arbitrariness that some people might bring into it.
Chairman, there was a second issue that CUPP raised, and that is an illogical rise in the population of voters in some constituencies. Let me also go back in specifics to what Kenga Ugochinyere said. He said in that Osho constituency, where the governor of Imo State comes from, I'm quoting him, in the last election, that constituency was under 5,000 votes, 5,000 voters. But after the creation of the booths and new wards and all that, the same constituency rose to 46,000 plus. And he pointed out that that is an area where insecurity has been driving people away from. It doesn't add up in sociological movement. It doesn't add up in mathematical calculations. But it seems to be adding up in political calculations. If such manipulations indeed, and that's a big if, what would be the reaction of your organization? And what advice will you give to INEC?
Amongst of the things that we're raising issues with is the fact that manual process is still largely allowed in the process, in spite of
introduction of technology.
We have seen, either deliberately or inadvertently, lack of
enthusiasm
to embrace and explore to the fullest the advantages of this technology that we have accepted, the law has accepted, in the transmission of the results from the polling unit to the INEC portal, that is the computers of INEC. Okay, fine. You said we are going to transfer the results from the polling units, isn't it? Okay, what about the addition of the polling units? Why is that allowed to be manual? And the saying goes that it's not those who cast the votes, it is that declare the winner. It is those who count the votes that declares who wins, determines who wins. So, in order to ensure that that does not happen, why don't we allow
machine
to collate? Because this is something that is the easiest thing the computer can do. To add is the most easiest thing it can do. So why was that simple action not left for the computer to perform, which will in fact determine the credibility of even what you are getting from the polling units? Because at because you are not talking about who determines the winner. And who determines the winner is still at the whims and caprices of the
counting the vote.
So that's where the lacuna is, and that's why we are calling. Even yesterday, when I paid a courtesy visit on the Speaker of House of Representatives, I raised the issue. I said there's an urgent need for them to revisit the act. Although he says time is not on our side, because even by international convention, when elections are so close, they don't tinker with the laws. Fine, but still we are worried of that lacuna, because the simplest thing the computer can do, once you give the resources, I mean the raw material, the material, the information, the data to the computer, add, that's the simplest thing. In fact, that's what the computers are designed to do. So why are we not employing that?
Well, Chairman, this is my last question, and I'm taking it from the statement, the promise, which the President just made a few days ago to the international community at the United Nations General Assembly. He was repeating a line he's been saying in the past 1 year, and that is that he would give to Nigerians a free, fair, credible, transparent 2023 election. I've raised a number of challenges which could undermine the credibility But these challenges I've raised are all man-made. They are politicians made, your constituency made. What will you be telling the politicians? What will you be telling Nigerians this afternoon? Do this to help Mr. President redeem his promise of giving Nigeria a free, fair, credible, transparent 2023 election.
Well, I'll ask Nigerians to give their maximum support to INEC, because like I've just pointed out, it's not yet Uhuru. Don't be deceived, or carried away rather, by the transmission of results from the polling units. That is not where it is. In fact, if there's anywhere that we must give attention to, is where the collation takes place. Because those are the people that determines who wins the elections, not the people. Like I said, that's a popular saying. You may cast your vote at the polling units.
The person who counts.
But those who counts, at that, and we have let that point, are still as porous as it were before now. So I'm calling on the attention of Nigerians to give, attention to that place where the people are counting, where they are collating. Let them give, attention to that place. That is the weakest link, in the whole chain. So my call to Nigerians is to support INEC as much as possible. And how do we support INEC? Is to give maximum attention, all of us, to see how are you collating? What are you giving us as the results? So that's my call. Mr. President is completely committed, because even if he's not somebody in the person of Muhammadu Buhari, who we know him as far as corruption is concerned, as a person, you can never, it's like oil and water, they don't mix. That's what Buhari is. But the problem we have now, like you rightly said, is those who are trying to see how they can either, upset the whole thing or manipulate it to work for them. So,
and what will you tell politicians themselves? Because they are interested.
Well, it's for us to behave ourselves. It's to behave, to ensure that this country belongs to all of us. And that aside, belong to all of us will account for our deeds, very soon, because we are going to live here forever. And if you believe in God, whether you believe in God or not, that will happen to you, because you didn't know how you came to be. So you must account for what you have done, after you leave this place. So don't think everything stops here. It doesn't stop here. And this is so short a time, really, that you spend here. So why not, make sure that when you are facing your Creator,
thank you very much. Well, in the past 30 minutes or so, I've been conversing with the chairperson of Nigeria Inter-Party Advisory Council, Yusuf Sani Yabagi. Yusuf, thank you very much for coming to the conversation. Well, the conversation never ends. My name remains Mwabozen Joko. Let us meet again on Sunday. Good afternoon.